Om Shri Sai Ram.
Om Shri Sai Ram. My humble pranams at the lotus feet of Bhagwan Baba and Sai Ram to all of you. It was a pleasure to have had the darshan of Bhagwan in 1972. That time he was staying in Delhi at the residence of Shri Sonlalji at 16 Golf Links. That was the time we had his darshans. His visit to Delhi at that time was for, I think, 7 to 8 days. And during that time, I had the occasion of having his darshans on two occasions. One was in the pandal outside, and one it was in the golf link, 16 golf links lawn outside.
After that, the whole attitude towards life changed for Rajesh ji. And he came home and said, from today, I will stop all non-veg, because he loved his non-veg food. But he just stopped, came home and said, no, I just don't want to eat anymore. Then my uncle and auntie, who were ardent devotees, Mr. and Mrs. Bharani, they suggested that they were going to Baba in June.
Month of June.
June. And that Swami was in Whitefield and they wanted us to come with him. So now you can tell them.
So we agreed to go, and I told Asha ji that we'll go for a few days to have Bhagwan's darshans, and then we'll tour South India after that. So she also agreed to it. So we went along with Mr. and Mrs. Bharani for Bhagwan's darshans at Whitefield. At Whitefield, Mrs. Manna Sundar Singh of Sundarnagar, along with some other Delhi devotees, were already in Whitefield. So after they came to know that we were there, the group, the Delhi group they were called inside by Bhagwan in the
inside the house, Swami's house.
Inside Swami's house.
So when we arrived there, my uncle requested Manna auntie to go and get permission so that they could also come for the day. So they went in and they said, Mr. and Mrs. Bharani are here. Swami said, yes, call them in. So when uncle went in, uncle told Swami that my daughter and son-in-law here. He said, Idhar hai? He said, yes. He said, bulao, andar bulao. So we were also called in. And as soon as we went in, we were served tea and snacks. Swami was sitting there. There were spiritual topics going on. There were about 12 to 15 people there. And Mr. and Mrs. Kovan were there on the left side. Then Swami had lunch and he went up to rest and sent some pillows down for us. You all also rest here for 2 hours. We all lay down over there, and then Swami came down at about 4 o'clock. We again had tea, coffee and snacks. And then Swami started spiritual topics and bhajans, where Swami also sang and he would play the manjira. So this used to go on till about 6:30. After that, we were asked to leave. This went on for about 7 days. Every morning, we were allowed to go in, spend the whole day there, and come out in the evening. That same routine went on. Once, on one of the days, Swami performed the wedding of Mr. and Mrs. Cohen, remarriage. And I think it must have been their 50th anniversary or something. Swami got them remarried and he gave them garlands to garland each other. Then he gave them one garland, held it with them, and he put it on himself and blessed them and materialized some Mangal Sutra or something and gave it to them. So we had these 7 blissful days. One day before leaving, Rajesh will tell you that
one day before leaving Whitefield, I prayed to Swami asking for permission to leave. He said, Abhi dekho. And he went inside and called us for an interview along with the group, you see.
And then Rajesh was sitting right at the back. He spoke to everybody. After some time, he said, he called him, Rajesh Khanna, son-in-law, idhar aao. So when he went forward, Swami just did his hand in the sky as if something was hanging there. He pulled it out. It was such a big frame of Shirdi Baba and Satya Sai Baba, which he gave it to him. And he said, you keep this with you always. And I'm very happy. And he gave us permission to leave. We came back. Then for October was Dashera.
After that, after we came back to Delhi, after about a week's time, I was taking the full family with my mother and her and all the elders to Vaishno Devi for Bhagwan for the darshans over there. At that time, I had decided that once we go up from Katra to Vaishno Devi, I will walk barefooted. So everybody said, no, don't do it. It'll be very difficult for you. But I said, no, I will do it at that time. Then they asked me as to why you are doing it this way. See, I said, I will tell you later. I happened to reach Vaishno Devi and had the mother's darshans. And I prayed at that time that if Sai Baba is God, why am I not at his lotus feet? I should also be over there. Then we came back to Katra and thereafter came back to Delhi.
This era, Sonlaji asked us to come along for Dashera. So we both also went. And even Lalit and Praveen, all four of us went. And there were no rooms. There was no place accommodation over there. And we managed to get a very small coterie over there where we managed to just put our luggage and come away. In the night, we used to sleep on the sand right below Swami's house. In the morning, 4:30, a torch would come into our eyes. Get up, Nagar Sankirtan aane wala hai. So we used to get up quickly and go up and get ready. Next day, Sonlaji told Rajeshji that Swami has made new flats in W1. He's allocating it. Why don't you also take one? He said, okay, but I have not got my checkbook. He said, no problem. Give cash, but take it now. Abhi to mil raha hai, tu le le. And he gave the money, which was a very, very nominal amount. And Bhagwan okayed it. Bhagwan had to okay all the donors. So he okayed ours, my mother's, Lalit's, and my uncle's. We all managed, Bhagwan gave us one room. And he came to each room and in all both the blocks and blessed everybody. But the flooring wasn't ready. It was full of water, cement. Toilets were not ready. Nothing was ready. It was just plain room. Then the whole night, Lalit Bhai and Rajesh, there was no mug or a glass, nothing. So with their hands, they would pick up the water and go and throw it out. And they got all that room in that block, W1 block, ready to receive Swami in the morning. That's how Bhagwan actually came, because it was all slushy and muddy. But these boys, both, they really worked hard the whole night and they got it all ready. And 72.
This was in October. After we came back to Delhi, that urge of doing seva was there. So I went to Sonlalji and asked him if there was any work for me in the organization. He waited on for a few days. Then after that, he told me, I'm going to Chandigarh for a meeting. You come along with me, which I readily agreed. After going over there and learning how the meetings were to be conducted, he started putting me on to other cities of Punjab, Haryana, and Himachal, and going over there and training up the volunteers and picking up things of the organization. Boss.
Then after that, next year, Swami came in 73. We were all Sevadals. And then 75, slowly, we were given duties inside Swami's house in 16 golf links. 73.
In 73, Bhagwan was to visit Moga. And Sonlalji put me in charge of going to Moga and arranging the volunteers over there and training up the volunteers in a few days' time so that Bhagwan could visit Moga. After Moga, Bhagwan visited and went off to Shimla, and we followed him over there to Shimla as a volunteer, where he was staying in Woodville, and I was a volunteer over there.
After that, in 73, 31st December 73, there was an All India conference at Rajamundry, which Rajesh also went in that group. Gaurav was only 2.5. And that night he became very critically ill. And in the morning, on the 1st January, he didn't get up. His body was swollen. And when I would force him to get up, he would just get up, say pani, and gulp down a glass of water and just fall back. Called the doctor. I called the uncle, mother-in-law. They all sat down in the room and they called the doctor. The doctor said he's got nephritis and he has to be shifted immediately to a hospital. Otherwise, his kidneys can give way. And but I don't know. I just felt that Rajesh had gone to Swami, so nothing could happen to Gaurav. I had very firm faith. Nothing will happen to him. So I had seen a family child being treated in the hospital for years for nephritis. And I'd seen how he was being tortured with pins and needles all over from top to toe, even under the foot. So I had thought to myself, I wouldn't like to see my child suffer like this. I wouldn't be able to bear it. But when this happened and the doctor frightened me, but I had that firm faith. I said, no. My mother-in-law, uncle-in-law, everybody got after me. You lose your child. Will you learn? I said, nothing will happen to him. I will not let him be tortured. And Swami is there. He's going to get all right. I had that faith. And then I took him to a homeopath. So I went there. I asked him to explain it to me. What is it? Suddenly, how can this happen? He said, this is nephritis. So I said, is his life in danger? He said, your problem was to come to me. Now that you have come to me, you relax. Now I am in charge. That was Swami's way of saying, don't worry. Came back and I called up Manna auntie, Manna Sundar Singh. I said, auntie, this is what has happened to Gaurav. We had become very friendly by then. She said, don't worry. Swami has given me a shivling. I will give you the water from the shivling every day, fresh water, and you mix vibhuti and give it to him. He'll be all right. Don't worry. That's what I did. I would just sit with him the whole day in a small little veranda so that he didn't smell food, because he wasn't allowed cheese, salt, very limited things he was allowed. And I was expecting my daughter Pooja. I was 6 months pregnant. And but I sat with him alone over there. I did not move from there so that he didn't come out or play with the children. He was not allowed any movement. And when he would go to sleep, whether it was morning, night, even night, 12 o'clock, one of our old servants used to wake up with me. When he used to go to sleep, I used to give him his dinner, go to sleep. Then I would have my dinner. One day, I had my dinner very silently. And with his eyes closed, he just told me softly, he said, Mummy, have you had your dinner? Did you have cheese? And I felt so guilty of even having dinner at 12 o'clock at night. But the days passed. Rajesh came back from there. We told him about it. By then, his critical period was over. he had got over that critical period where his life was in danger. And he made a quick recovery, touch wood, with Bhagwan's grace. Today, he has no problem. He was just 2.5 that time. And after that, where did we go to? 74.
No.
75, Swami came.
73 onwards, I started visiting Punjab, Haryana, and Himachal Pradesh, setting up the committees over there, helping them to get tapes of bhajans, which a friend of mine and myself would make it overnight.
They would sit the whole night and make those tapes, and then go and distribute it to the different places they visited.
And as such, we visited Firozpur, Hisar, Abhor, and Patiala, and various other places.
Solnaji took a liking to Rajesh because he saw how sincere and hardworking he was, and he started giving him more and more responsibilities. Then he was made the secretary of the organization. That time there was no trust formed. So he was made the secretary of the organization, which he would give full time. In 75, then again Bhagwan came. 75, Swami was went to Simla, and he came back, and we prayed to him through Mrs. Ratanlal and to visit our house. So Swami came to our house in 75 and spent some time with us. So when we went into the room, the relatives and friends were outside, and I prayed to Swami.
In 1975, when he came to Delhi, Bhagwan asked me to get some belts for him. So I went in the market looking around for belts. I had to make sure that it wasn't very, very wide or very thin, and the latching was
certain specification.
Very specifications. And I purchased so many of them. Of course, he tried all of them and took one for himself, you see.
And distributed. And then I asked them to asked him to even get shoes, chappals for him.
The exact size I did not know, but I made a guess as to what is the size, and I didn't know the design he was looking for. So I purchased about a dozen chappals.
Black, brown, light brown, so that one could choose.
And he selected, and he tried some and gave it to the devotees who were there. And Mrs. Ratanlal was also there. He gave it to her also. Like this, he gave us a lot of opportunity in coming forward for his work.
Then 70, Gaurav recovered.
So 75, he came to our house.
He came, and he told us in the room. I said, Swami, next time please come and have a meal with us. He said, हाँ, मैं जून में आता, तेरे यहाँ खाना खाता, और तुम दोनों को कश्मीर लेके जाता. So we were very happy, but we weren't that close to understand what Bhagwan meant. And then when he came, we told everybody, they all laughed at us. He's just making you know, तुम लोग को खुश कर रहे थे, बच्चे हो ना, खुश कर रहे थे, but जून में कहाँ आएंगे स्वामी, कितनी गर्मी होती है, जून में कभी भी नहीं आएंगे. So we said okay. Then Swami asked us to come for summer course to Bangalore, Whitefield.
No, just after that, after 1975, my visits to the states had increased. I was to go to Hamirpur one day along with the state president of Shimla, Shri Sham Sundarji. And we fixed up the program and decided to go on a particular date, you see. Before that, we had some free time, and Asha ji and myself decided to visit Puttaparthi and have Bhagwan's darshans over there.
We went for 2 days. We went for only 2 days.
We went only for two days, 3 days, but Bhagwan held us over there. he didn't give us permission to leave. I kept on asking Kutum Raoji for permission to leave, but with no response from Bhagwan. Eventually, I informed Shyam Sundarji that I'm still in Puttaparthi, so we'll have to make some changes in the programs. He, of course, I didn't expect any answer back from him. After 21 days, he kept us over there. After 21 days, we came to know that he was planning to leave Whitefield and go to.
He was planning to go to Whitefield.
And to Bombay. So we also thought that we have spent so much of time up here, we'll spend a day extra.
What will we do now? We cannot leave without Bhagwan's permission. So we just waited. And as soon as Swami's car left, Kutum Raoji came running to the veranda with Vibhuti Prasadam. He said, Swami has given this Prasadam, proceed straight to Delhi. Because we had actually planned to come via Bombay because I wanted to meet a friend there. And his instructions were, proceed straight to Delhi. So we came straight back to Delhi. In the meantime, Sonlalji could not get to go. Shyam Sundarji didn't get the message that he was not able to make it because that time there were no cell phones except trunk calls. So, but the calls wouldn't go through. So he left as per schedule to meet him halfway through at a certain point. But Swami had kept us there, so there was no way. He got very restless, but there was nothing you could do. Shyam Sundarji on the way had a massive accident. Accident. And most of the bones in his body got shattered. And he was hospitalized for 6 months. Till date, he cannot walk straight. He walks with a stick because all his bones were shattered. And when we came home, we came to know later because there was no way we could have come to know otherwise because phones to it the. And one day I was cleaning my cupboard and I took out a paper which was given by a old Kashmir Pandit who was of a family Pandit, very knowledgeable. He had predicted my father-in-law's death also. And my mother-in-law found the paper after Pitaji went away, my father-in-law. So one day I was cleaning my cupboard and I was just sorting papers and I found a paper there where he had also mentioned for Rajesh that this particular date is very critical for him. If he gets through this date, then he will have a very long life. And that was the time when Swami kept us there for 21 days, without talking, till that critical period was over. As soon as it was over, he sent us the message with Vibhuti. He didn't talk to us, just proceed straight to Delhi. So that was actually a new life for Rajesh.
New life.
Absolutely.
In 1978, there was we got an invitation to attend the spiritual course.
Swami had asked us to come.
Swami had asked us.
Come and attend the course.
At that time, we were looking around for a place to stay. And we found one house in Whitefield itself, where we could stay for a month.
It was a brand new house made by a family, but he had not shifted. So we were the first occupants of that. It had huge lawns. The children were very small. And we had taken a servant with us. And because it was for 1 month and you can't take children to the ashram. So they used to stay there. After the summer course, my mother-in-law wanted to go to Rameshwaram and Madurai, and she wanted to have darshan of all those. So she met us in Bangalore, came to us. So when Swami called us for an interview, and I saw small children, 7, 8 years old, singing the Vedas and singing such beautiful bhajans, I got very moved. And we came to know, somebody told us that Swami has just opened a school in Ooty. These children are from Ooty. So I said, how wonderful. It would be if our children could also get admission there. And they would be under Bhagwan himself. So during the interview, so Bhagwan gave us an interview. So I said, Swami, we would like to put our children in your institution. Swami was very happy. He says, that will be very nice, very nice. Then he said, तू राजेश खन्ना तू रह नहीं सकता? He said, Swami, आप बोलेंगे तो रह नहीं सकता. He said, नहीं नहीं. And I said, of course he'll stay, Swami. So he said, तू तो रह सकता है, ये नहीं रह सकता. ये बहुत soft है, ये बहुत soft है. He won't be able to stay without his son. I said, then he said, no, no, Swami, if you say, I will stay. About the son. Then I said, what about the daughter? He said, no, daughter को नहीं, मैं daughter को भी लेता. And तुम्हारा brother Lalit को बोलो, उसके दोनों children को भेजो. So he said, I don't know, Swami, if you would like to put it. So he said, नहीं, उसको बोलो, Swami जी बोला कि अपना children को इधर ही डालो. So I said, Swami, then पूजा को भी ले लीजिए. He said, नहीं नहीं नहीं, मैं daughter को नहीं ले सकता. सब children को लेता, तुम्हारा mother-in-law मेरे को बहुत मारता. तो मैं अभी नहीं लेता. So he didn't give admission. And he said, you go back now, tell Lalit, and bring the children in 15 days to Uti. So 15 days we came back, the children went to Uti.
At that time, I had a thought in my mind, hey, Swami, I would like to do something for the school. He said, no.
No, that was in the interview. After we had
in the interview.
We dropped the children and then came to Whitefield for Bhagwan's darshan and blessings. And he called us for an interview and he said, children ko choda. I said, हाँ, Swami. And I started crying because naturally the children were crying when we left them. So I really cried and cried. So he said, काय को रोता है? मेरा चीज तेरे को रखने के लिए दिया, तेरा हो गया, तो काय को रोता है? Naturally, then I stopped crying. I mean, that hit me very hard. He said, if you have the faith, be strong, but it's my property. So I'm keeping my property. How are you concerned? Then after that, the year next was...
At the same time, I wanted to give some...
Then Rajesh got the feeling that, we have put our child in Swami school, and it's all free, nothing, Swami not charging. So I would like to make a humble contribution towards the school. So he prayed to Swami. Swami would like to make a small contribution. He said, no, I only want your love. I don't want money. He said, no, Swami, this is all yours. We are not capable of much, but whatever we are capable. Swami said, Acha, you insist. When we insisted, he said, Acha, tum karna chahte ho to apne son ke naam pe karo. So we said, no, Swami, we don't want any name. He said, नहीं, मेरे ख्याल में son के नाम करना better. नहीं, Swami, हमको son का नहीं, किसी का भी नाम नहीं चाहिए. आपकी चीज है, आपको अर्पण है. 3 times he told us. Then after that, he said, okay, as you want. Then he just said that, and we had to leave for the airport. We left for the airport. He gave us blessings, and we left. And on the airport, we were waiting.
On the way, we started feeling.
And
what
did Swami mean? Suddenly he said, we only make something in somebody's name and that person is not there. So what did Swami mean by that? That means Gaurav's life is in danger. Both of us were shaking by the time we were trying to board the plane. Announcement came. And suddenly Rajesh put his head up. Oh God, like this, protection. And he looked up and there was a clear ring of Sudarshan Chakra clouds on the moon. Very clear, very sharp. He said, oh, Swami has given his blessing. His protection is there. Nothing will happen to God. Problem will come, but nothing will happen to him. And we came back. Sure enough, next year, we came back and Gaurav started getting stomach pains from about February, March. And he came back for the summer vacations. We celebrated his birthday, but he didn't get up. We called some of his friends, but he didn't get up. He was in pain all the time. Showed him to all doctors, Ayurvedic, homeopath, allopath, whoever said where, we took him all over. But everybody said, there's nothing there. What can we say? There's nothing there, nothing there. Then Praveen went to leave. We used to take turns. So that was Praveen's turn. They went to leave the children to Uti. And after that, she went to Puttaparthi to have Bhagwan's darshan. When she, here the next day, she left, the next day, I got a call from Uti. Right, from Uti. Yes, that Asha Gaurav's is in a lot of pain. So we are trying to show him here but I'll keep you posted. I said, okay. He must be having some problem, because I said he had it here for those 2 months of vacation. So next day, I get a call. He's been operated upon and he's out of danger now. That hit me and I started crying. My mother was there. She said, why are you crying? And you have the faith that Swami is there. What is there to cry? I said, that's true. When Bhagwan is there, I don't need to cry. But then I called back, trunk call. What happened? They said his appendicitis burst 2 days back. So he was in a lot of agony. They showed all the doctors, they couldn't diagnose. Then Prem Bell said, Mrs. Prem Bell said, कि मैम मुझे लगता है इसका appendicitis burst हो गया, तभी ये इतना दर्द में है, because his knees would go up into this thing, he couldn't open his knees. They rushed him to hospital, and no Uti hospital took the case. They said, no, this child is almost finished. We will not take the case. So they tried to they called up Swami. Swami said, take him to Wellington. And they said, what if we take him so far to Wellington? If his body can't take it and if it's in so much pain. Swami said, nothing will happen. I'll call up General Mahadevan ko bolta hai. Wo udhar bolta hai. And by the time they reached there, the message had gone through General Mahadevan. The surgeon there was transferred and he was leaving the next morning. So when he saw this critical case, he said, I'm going to operate upon this child because this child is critical. We'll try and save him. And the new surgeon who comes in will take time to accustom to the operation theatre. So I'm going to do his case. Tangama, their doctor from Uti school, she was with him all the time, holding on to Gaurav. And then she went into the operation theatre and she said, I saw Swami standing there, when he was being operated on. It was a very, very long operation because poison had spread in his body. And they had to flush out the blood, put in some little fresh blood to keep him going. And they kept him there. Now the hospital was full. So they put him in a male officer's ward, special ward, because General Mahadevan was putting them. And the report was going to Swami every now and then. All reports were going. They said, before the operation, we need the permission, written permission of parents. Because it's a critical case, we will not take it. They called up Swami. Swami said, I authorize them to go ahead. I am the guardian for Gaurav, and I authorize them. Please tell them to go ahead. And they said, but what about the parents? Swami said, I know they won't mind. They will have full faith in me. So you go ahead. And that's how Gaurav was operated on. When I got the message, I called up Rajesh. He was in office. He came home. The whole shop closed down. Everybody sat around. He was the only grandson in the family. So he was, everybody was very, very careful with him. And they all came. We sat in the lobby. And my uncle said, look, I don't have that faith. You have the faith, but it's okay. Keep your faith. But you have to go and see my grandson and see how everything is and bring him back here. We don't want to put in a hostel like this. My mother-in-law also said, but we were both very firm. I said, when Swami is there, the principal is Mrs. Verma is there, we don't need to go. If we go, Swami will say, you don't trust me. So we don't want to go. He's very safe in Swami's hands. But then they insisted so much, all right, if you don't want to go, keep your faith. I will go. Now, that was the last night. So at 10 o'clock at night, we went, Indian Airlines, got the tickets, flew down the next morning. So on the flight, I wrote a letter to Praveen, to Puttaparthi. Praveen, Gaurav has had an operation and is quite serious. And we are on our way to Coimbatore and to Uti. So if possible, get Swami's permission. And you, instead of going to Delhi, you come to Uti, so that Rajesh can stay for a few days. He will need to recover. And you and me can stay back. Both of us can stay back and look after him. I was writing the letter in the flight. Over there, during Darshan, Swami went to Praveen. And he said, brother-in-law ka son kidhar? She said, मैं अभी सब children को Uti छोड़ के आया. So he said, brother-in-law ka son कैसा है? So she said, he's okay, Swami. Swami said, not okay. बहुत serious है. उसका operation हुआ. And मैं देखा. she said, I almost fainted. Yeah, I've just left him 2 days back. And she said, Swami, then should I go to Uti right now? He said, तू कुछ कर नहीं सकता है, क्या करेगा जाके? तू कर नहीं सकता है, कुछ नहीं कर सकता. You go straight to Delhi. And she came to Delhi, and मैं उसको देखता. And I reached there. Naturally, there was no communication since there were no phones, and trunk calls were very difficult to go through. Then we went and reached about 7:38 at night to Wellington Hospital. And it was cold there, and they wouldn't allow us in. So I created a ruckus. I said, no, I have to meet my child. Today he has been operated and he's very critical. So I'm not going to this thing. Go back. I'm going to stand here. They said, no, we cannot allow you. And particularly that critical child, everybody knew about it, is in the male ICU ward. And no female is allowed in. So, ji, Mataji, ho hi nahi sakta. So I said, you can do whatever you want. Aapka general kaun hai? Kaun hai head of the... Please, meri baat karwao. Because I'm not going back like this. I haven't come here on a honeymoon. I need to see my child. So I created such a ruckus that they called up the head colonel. He said, okay, as a special case, let them go in, meet the child for 5 minutes, and then they must leave. They cannot stay there. I said, okay, let me go in now at least. So we went, and when we saw Gaurav, we were actually shaken up because he was yellow like haldi, because there was no blood in his body. But, and he was, of course, under heavy sedation. And I called out to him. I said, Gaurav, see, we have come. He just opened his eyes for a minute and he said, Mummy, dekho, mother kitna acha hai. They used to call the principal mother. She gave me so many dinkies, and the whole side table was full of dinky cars. So he was very happy with that. And he conked out. Then we stayed there for a little while, came home. From next morning, by 7:30 we used to reach. And they said, no, you can't. I said, I have to have a permission. I am not going away. I'm not going anywhere, and I'm going to stand out here. So as a special case, the general said, as a special case, we will allow you, but you're not to tell anybody. And he's in the male officers ward where no women are allowed. But as a special case, I'm going to allow you. Please don't tell anybody. So we thanked Swami for getting us that permission. We used to go there about 7:30 in the morning, come out about 7:38 after giving him dinner. Then I would come home. We would come to the hotel. After, but when iska stitches khulna tha, so the nurse, usne bola, he says, I said, tell me the truth, this thing. Then she told us he was such a critical case. We had to drain out all the blood from his body because poison had spread quite fast, because it was 2 days since the appendicitis had burst. It wasn't this thing. And they didn't know. Then after that, they said, ki, Aaj iska stitches khulega. We are ready for an emergency because the skin, there was a big gap between the stitches. It just wouldn't close that gap. They said sometimes it can burst by the time we're trying to open the stitches. So we are ready for any emergency. We might have to do something. But with Swami's grace, the stitches were removed. He was okay. They gave us permission. We went back to Uti to thank everybody. And I thought I'll stay there. We'll stay there for some days till he recovers. But Mrs. Bell said, I said, I don't know what to do. We'll stay here. She says, no, ma'am, you just take him. Swami has come to Whitefield. I said, Puttaparthi, he cannot take she said, you must go for his darshan and thank Baba. I said, he cannot take the journey to Puttaparthi. Roads are so bad. She said, no, he's just come today to Whitefield. So you take him to Whitefield. We left immediately, came down to Whitefield by taxi. We hired a taxi, came down to Whitefield. And Swami was always asking about, how's the child? How's Gaurav? When we reached there, Swami saw us and he said, where were you from morning? I've been waiting for you. Tum kidhar tha? Main wait kar raha subah se. And we said Swami was pacing. When are they coming? When are they coming? And took us immediately for an interview. Gaurav was going to sit down. He said, nahi, abhi stitches bada raw hai. Niche nahi baito. Mere saath baito. He made him sit on the sofa. Then he told us everything, what actually happened, how Swami stepped in and saved his life. Then he said, no, now you, what are you planning? I said, Swami, we'll go back to Uti and we'll stay till he recovers. He said, no, there's no need. Abhi stitches bahut raw hai. You take him to Delhi, keep him there for 15 days. In 15 days, he will be totally okay, and come and leave him to Ooty. And then he gave a full list of the diet. He said, you must give him eggs. So I said, Swami, he won't eat eggs. Swami doesn't like it and they don't serve it. He said, no. Swami ji permission deta. 6 eggs a day. Tomato soup, usme ye dalo. Potato soup, give him all these healthy within and honey and he will be better. 15 days. Sure enough, he came to Delhi. After 10 days, he was so naughty that my mother-in-law said, please take him back. He's safer in the school because if the way he jumps around here, his stitches will never heal. But after 15 days, we went and with Swami's grace, he was absolutely okay. I think we'll just stop here.